Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, yWhales, wherever you are. It's part of the fun of having a global podcast. We never know what time zone we're in. And Stefan, where are you at today?
I am in Bogota today, so I am pretty excited for doing this from another remote location.
Hey, listen, we love, kind of the traveling crypto hobo thing you got going on. So it's absolutely awesome
That's right.
Yeah, just keep moving around. So today we've got a really interesting one with OVR. And so I don't really want to talk about us too much. Diego, how you doing, sir?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Oh, we're thrilled to have you. So let's just go ahead and before we get into OVR and everything that you've already done and accomplished today, let's kind of take a few steps back. How did we get here, and who are you, and give us a little bit of background.
Yeah, so of course. So my name is Diego Di Tommaso. I'm the co-founder and CEO of OVR. So basically, we launched this project back in 2018, and then it went public in 2020. Before doing that, I was in consultancy. I've been working and collaborating with PwC, first in finance, then in operations, optimization operation in fashion, because this is my former background, and then in open innovation. So before doing that, I had a family company working in fashion, in fast fashion, actually, that we sold in 2012. So basically, I moved from like being an entrepreneur, coming back being a consultant, and then being back an entrepreneur with OVR. And before that, I mean, my studies a little bit not so, let's say, a little bit different, because I have a degree in philosophy and political sciences, and then I did an MBA. So I move around the space of knowledge a lot. And yeah,
yeah. So clearly, you had success, you had an exit, you took some time, and then you've come back in. But there's it seems like a lot of symbiotic traits to what you were doing back then and what you're trying to do now. What was the thesis you originally had, that brought you to OVR?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, I went in the rabbit hole of blockchain in 2014 when I heard the first time about Bitcoin. And I mean, since then, I mean, my passion on this technology, on this new, I would say, coordination technology grows stronger and stronger. So 2017, I get even more inside this ecosystem, also starting mining. And then, so basically in 2018, really my mind was so much projected in this direction. So the way it happened that basically we started this company is because in Udine, my hometown here in Italy, I founded a club that is basically sponsoring events on startups. So every month we create an event on a vertical, and we invite some startups to pitch. And on that club, I met my co-founder, Davide Cutini, that actually he was running a company building VR and AR for B2B. So he was running this company since 10 years. And so basically we started talking, actually back then we started talking about AI, because one of my passions. In 2017, I've been learning to code in Python because I was trading with bots, with machine learning and so on. That didn't work, but I learned coding, so it's a good thing at the end of the day. And so we start talking, and basically we start to imagine if actually we could scale the know-how that he had on this company, and to go out from B2B and create a platform to actually that can actually scale. So we saw the Decentraland, and we was very fascinated by what they were doing specifically in VR. And so we think that there was a big opportunity to do this in AR, also because our thesis is that actually AR will be bigger than VR. So we saw that in the landscape there was few companies already trying to do that, but we believe that we could do something much more better, and so that's the way we started.
It's always interesting, and Stefan will probably agree. It's I know enough code to be dangerous to screw something up, but obviously that's something to be left to the professionals. And so your kind of journey of going into AI and needing to understand it is very helpful. For when I'm sure you're working with your teams and going out. Your comments about AR, I think, are very relevant. I think that it's going to be very difficult for people to want to live their lives behind a screen and be in a total virtual environment. But as everyone's glued to their mobile devices, I think that the concept of more AR is really relevant. And we've seen Google in the past. They dropped their Google Glass that they had for a while, but for a long time, and right around I think the years you're talking about, 17-ish, they were very, very heavy in this, correct?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And our thesis is that basically VR will be very big, and of course will grow from here. But the point is that at the end of the day, we are physical beings. We live in physical space, and having on you an headset that is totally occlusive, it can be done for a few hours a day, maybe, but it's not what we're going to do consistently during the day. And also we see a technological trajectory that is going in the direction of augmented reality, so of merging the physical and the virtual. If you think about that, we moved from oral history to books, then to mainframes, desktops, laptops. Now we have mobile phones. Everybody stares at these mobile phones from 5 to 8 hours on average per day, or anyway is in front of a screen for so much time. So we see that information that is getting closer and closer to our visual field. And the glasses, the smart glasses, will be just the next step to that. And also because we are very good. Our brain is made to work in 3D space, and so having information displayed in this way will be much more effective. Also, if you think about that, many brands, like for example, Google and Apple are spending billions to actually improve this augmented reality technology. And also, if you think about that, when you see a product in augmented reality, the impression that gives you is much more stronger than anything that you can see on a 2D screen. So we are very, very convinced that this is going to be the future, and that is why we are here now.
Love it. So let's dive right in. OVR, over the reality. Let's give us the elevator pitch and then the deep dive.
Yeah, of course. So basically, what OVR is a platform to create an augmented reality metaverse. So in this metaverse, we combine basically two technologies. So one is the blockchain that is used for ownership, so to be in this Web3 movement, and the second one is the geolocalized augmented reality. So just coming back on what is a metaverse, because there's many definitions of this, and nobody really knows what it is. It's just a buzzword right now. So let's try to see what we mean for metaverse. So for us, a metaverse, specifically an augmented reality metaverse, is a fusion between the physical and the virtual. And this, in our vision, is enabled by what is called geolocalized AR, so augmented reality that is anchored to specific locations. More than this, a metaverse for us is a place where you meet people, you play, you can build this metaverse, and you can own it thanks to Web3 paradigm. But also you can earn. We saw the potential of play to earn, and so we believe that successful metaverses will give the opportunity to do something that is meaningful also economically for people. And finally, as I mentioned before, we believe that augmented reality will be the new medium that we will use for information in the next future, to actually interact with information in the next future. So
the only problem I have is we really need to find a new name for metaverse. I agree, because now that Facebook has kind of stolen the word meta, it just no longer encompasses what the movement used to be. Yeah. So But no, absolutely everything else, everything you say, I agree with, and I think it's a really interesting points.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we should call it Openverse. I don't know. I mean, maybe to distinguish us from the closed metaverses, no?
To be honest, I like that way better than Metaverse. We'll give you credit if that catches fire.
Let's hope so. Yeah. So coming back to our platform, so OVR can be conceptualized as made up of three main layers. So the first layer is an ownership layer. So basically, we break down the world in hexagons of 300 square meters, and we call those spatial domains. So just like in the web, you have web domains, and basically, if you own a web domain, you can publish the content on that website. In our case, those spatial domains are geographic coordinates. So for example, if you buy an OVR land, an NFT representing the Colosseum, you will have publishing rights over there. So you will decide what will be the augmented reality content that will be anchored to that location, so that users of the platform, when will be there, will be able to see the experience that you decided. So with their mobile phones right now and with their smart glasses in the future. So this layer is built on NFT standard. Right now we are on Ethereum, but actually we are in the process of moving to Polygon because of the gas fees and the scalability issues. Up to now, we sold 750,000 of these virtual lands to more than 25,000 users out there. And so this is the base layer, and so the ownership layer, and what also basically distributes this platform to the users. So they have control and they really own this, and we cannot take away this property from them. So the second layer, it's for us a crucial, a very important layer that we call it the mapping layer. So anybody that wants to create something like we're doing, so wants to merge the physical and the virtual world, has a problem to face. So the problem that they need to face is that right now, geolocalized augmented reality is based on GPS. And GPS is not precise. So outdoor is between 2 to 6 meters, indoor 20 meters, or even doesn't work. So for some use cases, this is okay. So in fact, if you think about that, the most successful use case of augmented reality is Pokemon Go. Why is that? Because Pokemon Go uses GPS and doesn't need for accuracy. If you are collecting Pokemons, you don't care where they are. If they are in front of the door or outside on the other side of the street, it's the same for you. You just need to collect those. But if, like us, you want really to merge physical and virtual, you need precision. If you want to put an avatar outside of a shop or inside a shop, you need to be precise. You want to, I don't know, enhance a building. You want to showcase the building how it will be, or how, for example, the Colosseum, how it was before. You need to be precise when you augment that location. So in order to do that, you need to have a system that has accurate localization, need to be ubiquitous and reliable and accessible. So anybody needs to do that. So this is what we've been working on in the last 6 months. And basically what we came out with is a solution that from pictures from normal mobile phones, so no fancy phone with LiDAR, the $200 smartphone that everybody can have is in his pocket, you can take pictures of a location. And from that pictures, we produce two kinds of things. So first of all, we create a 3D map so that when you want to place assets in space, you have a reference of the actual location. And secondly, more importantly, we train a neural network so that the next time a camera sees that location, understands where it is in space with 20 centimeters accuracy. It is mimicking basically what our brain is doing. When you go in a room, you see the location. When you come back, you understand where you are because you understand what's the surroundings. So this is a very important activity that will set us apart from anybody that wants to do that, and also is a great opportunity to engage our community. So, right.
Yeah. So a couple questions on this right now, because you're using some heavy AI and probably lots of different solutions here. Are these, and I see proprietary, are you using on-chain or are you using traditional SaaS based AI at this point?
No. So basically, the algorithms have been built by us and are based on open source technology. So all the algorithms are run by us, so we don't pay anybody to do that. And this is an important point to bring on, because nobody can build this as a freemium model if he needs to pay some other company to develop this. So for example, Microsoft on Niantic has this technology. But for example, again, with Microsoft, if you want to use this technology, you need to pay them every time you relocate. So this cannot work. So this is another big barrier to entry. So if you want to do that, you need to build your own. Otherwise, this will be economically unfeasible. And regarding the on-chain, of course, this heavy data is not crunched on-chain, because that would be unfeasible. What will be on-chain will be the result of this. So the 3D map that we will generate will be an NFT, and this NFT will be owned by the creator of this map. And basically this map, so this will be a way to earn in the metaverse, another way to earn in the metaverse. So basically us as OVR, and also the owners of the land probably, will pay for this activity. So our moonshot, or crazy vision, let's call it anyway, is basically to be able to map all of the locations that have been sold in the next year. So as I was mentioning, right now we sold 750,000 locations. But on the other side, in the last year, we also sent our community to 1.5 million locations to play to a game very similar to Pokemon Go, in which we distribute our tokens and NFT from other projects. So we will take this community and we'll tell them, look, if you want, we give you another opportunity to earn in this metaverse. In this time, not playing, but mapping the world. Basically, the activity is very similar. You just need to go in places, but while going in places, instead of only collecting assets like Pokemons or so on, you also need to take pictures of that location. And you will generate an NFT that will be yours, and we can buy it from you, or the owners of the land can buy it from you.
Now, as technology continues to increase and camera resolutions continue to increase as well, are these maps updatable? I understand they're on chain, but are they going to continue to evolve as the world evolves around them, or is what's on chain going to be static?
No, that's a good point. So basically, on chain there will be the result of the computation, but of course the database of the pictures of the raw data that we use will be still owned by the person that created it, or the buyer of the NFT. So these maps are always, it's always possible to upgrade those. And this is not only made by taking new pictures, but is also made through new algorithms, because there is an incredible growth and acceleration in the technology used to transform 2D pictures in 3D maps, and also in the relocalization. So this raw data is very valuable, because can be used and reused. And also you can take, again, pictures in the location, making the map and the relocalization even more precise and robust. Because if you take, for example, the pictures of the location both in winter and in summer, and so you have variance on that location, you can be even more robust when you relocate assets in space. So this is a continuous, it can be a continuous effort.
Yeah, no, and I'm very familiar with the AR space. One of the companies I own, we do 3D scanning and mapping of residential and commercial facilities. And so, what we use is these, $10,000 to $20,000. In some cases we have $50,000, LiDAR, AR scanners. Yeah, the big crazy ones. And the precision is down to, millimeters. And so that was my question is, as it gets more upgradable and the price of those things come down, how finite are these things going to continue to get refined? But no, that's absolutely fascinating, and clearly the direction the technology is going. So love seeing this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's very good that technology is moving and moving. I mean, our big priority in this was to take this technology and make it usable to as much people as we can. And so the real complexity here is to use hardware for this that is not LiDAR based, because of course with LiDAR and lasers you can create amazing things, but since we need a community effort to do this, we need to allow everybody to actually use that.
Listen, I have one here in the shop of the LiDARs, and I think 5 more on order, and that they've been on order for the last 7 months. So even if you wanted to do it, the equipment doesn't exist.
You cannot do that. Yeah. And also there is another interesting thing about that. It's basically nobody can really map the whole world. I mean, we are not, even us, we are not so crazy to think that we can do that. But we think that, already mapping the locations that have been bought will be very, very valuable, because basically, if you think about that, this is a wisdom of the crowds, because people bought lands and voted with their tokens, with their wealth, because they bought those lands. And so the lands that have been bought in the map, if you go on our website and you check out the map of locations that have been bought, the community have been basically buying the most important places in the world. So if already we start mapping this, we will have a very interesting critical mass of locations with a lot of traffic and famous locations. So the idea is not to map the whole world, is to map important places in the world.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm curious on that from a revenue model perspective too. Are you pretty much relying mostly on like an exclusive, like your own ecosystem thing? Because it feels like all this mapping data, there's lots of people who would buy it, right? I mean, are you looking at kind of more of a traditional, like whatever, sell it to Google Maps, et cetera, type play as well, and then just rev share back to the owners? Or are you really looking to stay purely in the crypto kind of metaverse space?
Yeah, so the ownership of these maps is not really ours unless we buy it. So, of course, the ones that we buy, so I talk about the ones that we will own. So about the lands that we will own, so the first use case will be, of course, on our platform. But as you mentioned, this data will be very, very valuable because nobody can build a metaverse, an augmented reality metaverse without the mapping or without the raw data for mapping. So, as we go towards this direction of AR, smart glasses, and so on, more and more companies will see the value in this. And so, in our perspective, we will use it on our platform, and why not also letting other use these maps that was generated. So we are totally open to that. But the first use case will be on our platform. But we are more than happy to, also allow other people to use this data, of course, with a revenue model.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be really interesting too, right? If you have a whole marketplace to be able to say, hey, I'm whatever, Microsoft, and I need this location, right? And I don't have it mapped. It's going to be a huge hassle to do myself. It's owned by these 74 people. I can just pay them to buy the mapping data on that. So I think, be interesting to be able to, especially in the play to earn side, I guess, right? Where you're just aggregating, building a marketplace. Actually, I'm curious on that. How much are you looking to kind of go more into the gaming space versus the actually providing physical mapping data, right? Is this more of a B2B play, or are you looking really to go on the kind of direct to consumer game, et cetera side?
Yeah, so basically in our case, we are, a very horizontal platform. So our main goal here is to build the platform side, not really to develop the vertical use cases. So we, of course, we would love our platform to be used by companies and other businesses, but it's not that our play is really to build for them vertical use cases. So our main focus right now is to build the tools, all the tooling, to make this metaverse platform usable by anybody. The first people we think about is final users, so B2C, but of course, this technology can be used also by other companies. So, I don't know if I answered your question, but this is our vision. So building the platform that can be used by both, so both B2C and B2B, but more focus on B2C, I would say.
Interesting. And then so you allow other, whatever, let's say I want to build Pokemon Go again, and I want to build it based on real mapping data. I can use your mapping data and build on top of your platform without having to actually rebuild the whole thing.
Exactly. In fact, this also brings me to the third layer of our platform, that is this SDK. So basically, what is already out there, it's two kind of SDKs or builders. So one is a web builder where you just drag and drop 3D files. So you don't need to be a coder to use that. It's quite easy. So you publish content in space. But then we have also a much more powerful and expressive tool that is a Unity plugin. So with that Unity plugin, if you can code, actually you can code logics, you can code games. I mean, and with this coding, with this experience, you can use all of the rest of the layers that I was describing. So you can use the mapping and you can use the ownership below that. So yeah, the real vision is to create the most, I mean, we focus on two kind of users. So the power user that can create games and complex interaction, and the not so sophisticated in terms of coding user that can actually just publish something in augmented reality anyway. So yeah, and then moving on to where we are right now, just trying to give you what we see as the path to the metaverse. No, so we started with this decentralized ownership. So the base layer I was mentioning, lens scanning is just starting now. So we're going to release. It's scheduled tomorrow. Maybe it will be on Monday, but anyway, the alpha version will be out of this mapping software. This will be in alpha probably for 1 month, and then we will release it to all public, because we need to fine-tune the user experience, because we need to be sure that it's easy to create these maps. And then, of course, we have the SDK that is running. So we believe that while we develop these layers in the next year, I mean, this platform will be more and more usable by anybody that wants to create these kind of experiences.
How many users did you say you have today?
Yeah, so basically right now we have 450K. Yeah, I got the slide.
I promise I've never seen this slide. I have no idea. It's just the questions are flowing, and you have done clearly your research on how I operate with questions, and that's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, so basically we have around 500,000 users, and those users went to 1.4 million locations to actually collect assets, digital assets I was mentioning you in this kind of Pokemon Go game. That actually is something very interesting, because we start distributing our tokens, and then since we saw that this was working very well, we started onboarding other projects. So many projects that are NFT projects that just dropped the 10,000 NFTs, and now they're building the next thing about their project. But with us, they have an opportunity to immediately gamify this asset. So the first thing that we do with them is a treasure hunt. So the bigger collector will get an actual NFT or more actual NFTs from the project. So and this is working very well. It's a win-win, because we onboard their community, we bring their community to them, so everybody's happy, and we are doing it every week. We have a new project doing that. So 1.4 million locations with this kind of experience that are already being visited by our users. The people that right now are playing to this game, out of this 540,000 users, is around 100,000. And every day, I mean, with new projects, we onboard more. The app has been downloaded around 300,000 times. As I was mentioning before, 750,000 lens sold, 30 employees for the moment, and yeah, $7 million generated in the last 12 months from the lens sales, basically. In terms of employees, I mean, maybe it doesn't look a big number, but for us it's very big, because in December 2020, when we launched the project, it was in 4 people. So in the last year, basically, we scale. I mean, was a mess, because moving from 4 to 30 people is very complex. We did it. So now in the next year, we expect to get to 60 people, and then we think,
What's the breakup of that team? How many? How are you allocating assets and development?
Sorry, assets and development.
How are you? I'm sorry, human assets. So what's the breakup of essentially sales, marketing versus the actual development team that's doing the coding?
Yeah, so we are more. We are almost developers. So I would say that 70% of them are developers, and the rest are spread between marketing and of course the direction of the company. So our vision is that we are very strong in building software, a little bit less strong probably in the marketing side. In fact, in the next year, we're going to also grow a lot on that direction. This is kind of normal because we come from that side. So basically, as I was mentioning we started from a company that was doing B2B software development. So it was easier for us to grow on that direction than on the marketing side. But I mean, we see the value there, and so that's also where we're going to push more and more.
As a personal note, the reason I ask is because I much prefer, as early stage as you are, that your focus is on the development, it is on the code, it's building a good foundation, and that's not always what we see. Sometimes we see it flipped, where it's everything's sales, everything's marketing, everything's hype, and there's like one poor guy, trying to code an entire like universe, on a laptop in the middle of Zimbabwe, and so and there's nothing wrong with that, but clearly with your roadmap and the goals that you have. You need a lot of developers.
Yeah.
You need some very talented developers. You said you're coding this in Python?
No. Python is just for the machine learning side. So basically, we use Unity, we use Ruby on Rails.
Okay.
I mean, we use, of course, Solidity and so on. So yeah, Python is just for a small part for the machine learning side. For the rest is other kind of things, and also the code. I mean, all I would say 90% of our team is here in Udine with us. Wow. So it's not so easy because we are in a small city in Italy, so finding developers are not super easy. But I mean, we've been able to bring away many talented developers from bigger companies just because it was boring working there and they have fun with us. So we've been quite good in bringing some talent over there, and we're very happy about that. Also because when you are in this space and you need to build very fast and maybe change your strategy and so on, having a team spread around the world can be tough. So having all under the same roof, even if we work in the metaverse, is very effective, actually, I have to say.
Are you guys doing team meetings in the metaverse?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, every one of us test it every day, and also we are creating some live events. This is another thing I wanted to tell you about. So basically, I was telling you about the metaverse that we are building, but I was missing to describe that point. So when you are in our metaverse, you are not a passive spectator, but you are there with your own avatar. So from a picture, from a selfie, we created a 3D avatar of you with your face. We recreate the mesh of your face, and basically you can meet over there. You can meet in this metaverse with other people and interact with them. You can create events. And in fact, this week we are going to have one of our first events with a DJ that is playing. And so we will see all the people dancing inside of VR metaverse. We are very excited for that.
Which headsets are you using, or which?
No, we don't use headsets. So basically, the whole technology is based is scaled to work on mobile phones. Just because basically anybody has a mobile phone in his pocket, while headsets unfortunately are not yet so much widespread. So we have some proof of concept, for example, on Magic Leap and so on, but nobody really has Magic Leap. So right now everything is scaled to work on mobile phones, and we support a wide range of mobiles. I mean, it's very difficult to say what mobile we support in outside of the iOS, because we of course we support both Android and iOS, but you know that Android has a very spread amount of devices. But to give you a reference, in terms of iOS, we support from iPhone 6s onwards. So it's a device hardware from since 6 years ago. So we really try to make this technology as accessible as it's possible, because of course you need some computation because it's AR, but we try to make it available to the more people we can. So yes, sorry if I went too far, but basically to answer you, yes, we are meeting in the metaverse, and we've been working a lot on this feature. Right now we support 200,000 people together that will be spread in rooms of 50 people. Otherwise, everything will explode. And this is kind of complex technology because your avatar, if you have, for example, an iPhone X onwards, we trace also the movements of your face, so you can see the facial expressions. And while you move in the physical space, your avatar will move actually in the metaverse. So we use the accelerometer for that. So there is a lot of data going back and forth. But we believe that this creates a very compelling experience. And we see the potential of this. I mean, I was reading an article from Professor Galloway, an article quite against the Facebook, of course, but there was a very nice chart over there where it showcased that in a Fortnite event with Travis, there was 28 million spectators, while, for example, in Woodstock, there was 1 million spectators, or in Coachella in 2017, 1.3 million. So the potential to bring people together with this kind of events in the metaverse is just mind-blowing. So,
well, no, absolutely. And, the theses that I personally work off of, which is Web3 will not be defined by companies, it will not be defined by brands, it will not be defined by governments, it will be defined by communities. And having the ability to bring people together quickly, easily, and efficiently. And, right now we're in a mini metaverse. We're just using, traditional cameras and some very basic streaming software. But to get that to be more immersive will allow people to have a much more, feeling of being in touch, feeling of being there. And so I really, what you're doing is the precursor to essentially, the Ready Player One type world where you're engaged. That was a much more, I think, a free man, or whatever the new movie was, where they're wearing the glasses and the augmented reality is a little bit more along the lines there. But clearly, clearly this is the direction people are going, because they want to engage. But physical space is becoming a much harder barrier to get past in the world that we live in.
Absolutely, yes, especially with COVID and so on. So yeah, that is a point, actually. And so yeah, just moving on. I mean, we tried to also figure out what is the dimension of this opportunity. So what is the scope of the use cases of our platform? So as I was mentioning, it's an horizontal platform, so we don't focus on a single use case, but trying to look at the market out there, how it's made. So a big part of this, I mean, this is just projection, so nobody really knows, but I mean, you need to start from somewhere. So gaming will be good, will be great. Again, live events, as I was mentioning, retail, real estate, and education. So this is scopes that we are actually covering. Then, of course, there is something that we don't cover, so like healthcare, engineering, or military. But I mean, we believe that this is already a big chunk of the market. And just to understand how big is this market, just taking one of these, I mean, so for example, retail, that is a small one, actually. So everybody says that, of course, retail malls are dead and so on, that because everything is going to e-commerce, and it's actually true. But even if it's true, we still have 1.5 billion monthly visits in malls in US only. So really the opportunity to use augmented reality, for example, in malls, if you have this precise localization, augment shop windows, having avatars explain you about products and services, or just very simply navigation. So having a device that understands where it is in the space and brings you with augmented reality to the location you want to go. I mean, it's just a no-brainer to utilize. So really, we see an incredible amount of use cases that are possible with this technology, especially with this precise geolocalization. And the fact that you can have this precise geolocalization also indoor. Because yes, let's not forget that we spend most of our time watching at smartphones, but also most of our time is indoor, not outdoor. So anybody that wants to build something meaningful on this need to solve the problem indoor, not only outdoor.
So how's the token work? What's the use cases? Where is it available? And kind of what's the, and usually this is the case, what's the use case today and where is it going to progress in the future?
Yeah, so basically in terms of token economics, we are quite different from many other projects. We, for example, for the launch of the token, we use a technique that is not very common. So we use an IBCO, so initial bonding curve offering. It's the same system used for Avegotchi, just to give you a reference. So basically the way it works, there is a DAO that controls an automated market maker, so a bonding curve that in our case is basically is controlled by our DAO. So the way it works, when somebody buys, the collateral, in our case is DAI, goes in this bonding curve and stays there. So every new token costs more than the former, but also this bonding curve not only sells tokens, also buys tokens. So basically is a liquidity provider, the first liquidity provider for this market. So this has been working very well because we launched, the price started at 0.07. Now we are around $2.80. And the amount of collateral that is there now in this bonding curve that is controlled by the bank or formula is around $10 million. And of course, we cannot take it away. So that stays there as a first liquidity provider. And then, of course, there is all the other markets. We are on Uniswap and so on. So in terms of what do you have any question?
Yeah, no. And I love those tokenomics, and I have heard a little bit of that, and Stefan can comment on that. But what protocol is managing that? Is that your own, or are you using Curve or somebody else to?
No. Basically, this is a standard that basically was created by the Aragon Foundation, and so basically we just use that standard. And we deployed.
So you built your own contract on that.
Yeah. But basically we didn't build from zero. We just used their code, and of course, and this bonding curve is controlled by a DAO that basically is controlled by token holders. So they can decide to switch down. To close the bonding curve, to change the parameters, and so on. Of course, for that there needs some coordination because there is a threshold of voting. But basically, they have the power to do that.
So you really did go. So that was the question: is you are on chain, you are, your code is clear, and you have decentralized for the most part to the token holders away from a centralized governance.
Yeah, and of course we're also gonna expand that because right now this DAO just control the bonding curve, but as long as we mature more in our platform, we would like to give that to the community of token holders and also of land holders, basically the power to control the political decisions on this. So, for example, the OVR land governance, the publishing rights, and so on. So, some fine-tuned decisions. Once everything is launched, it's at the stage that is mature enough. We would like to be the token holders to actually, and the OVR land owners to decide this. So this will be on Polygon because you have the problem in Ethereum that voting will be costing a lot. So even if theoretically works very well, practically will not work. But yes, that is also what is gonna be deployed later on. So coming back to what is the use cases of the token right now, the first use case is buying the lands, because if you want to buy the land, you need to use the token. Then of course, there is this governance things that I was mentioning and will be also even more expanded in the future. And what else? Of course, all the economical exchanges in our platform is intermediated from the OVR token. And moreover, since 3 months now, we start a burning mechanic so that 40% of what we cash in from the land sale, we use it to burn the token. So in the long run, the token will become scarcer and scarcer and scarcer as we keep selling those lands.
What's the total amount of coins right now?
It's around 150 million tokens. So basically, 105 million tokens. So of course, the supply is not fixed because basically the more people buys, the more expensive it gets, but those get minted, and if people sells, those get burned. So it's variable, and basically there is no theoretical limit, but there is a practical limit because the price basically caps it. So nobody will buy the token when it will be like $1,000. So basically I can share with you also the article with some technicals, but basically the curve of the growth of price is exponential. So the more is the price, the lower is the issuance. It's very similar to what happens with Bitcoin, if you think about that. So the issuance goes like this. It's a parabola that tends to a limit.
Yep. No, I really do agree with the direction you took on this, because again, it's one of those things that you want long-term viability for an ecosystem, and it's no fun when someone's, you know, their cost basis is a fraction of a cent, and the next person, you know, trying to get in now, you know, maybe a year or two later is, you know, it's $50 a coin, and it's kind of the ecosystem's already been destroyed before anyone's really gotten in there. So it's great to reward the early adopters, of course, but you want to make sure that, you know, we're not even close to fully built out yet and deployed.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, very cool.
And yes,
hey, I'm actually curious on the governance model. Okay, so I mean, I think one of the interesting things in governance, and Jay just kind of hit on that, is like, I mean, okay, right now, like, I mean, democracy is one person gets one vote, right? Like, I think where crypto is right now, it's more like oligarchy, as in like one money gives you one vote, right? How are you going to handle that? Like, are you going with like landowners? Each like square gets a vote? Do you go with the tokens? Because it's kind of interesting. You kind of have like an interesting combination, I guess. You could have a bicameral system. Like, how do you go about that? Because it feels like in your case, not going tokens seems like it would actually make a fair bit of sense.
Yeah, no, this is thanks for this question. Actually, I was discussing about this with my co-founder yesterday. So so we are very interested in these mechanics of how voting things and oligarchies that are created in blockchain in general. So we started actually experimenting with quadratic voting. I don't know if you heard about that. It was proposed by Vitalik. So basically,
quadratic voting on the land, though, or on the token?
No.
Because I think that's the cool part here, because you could do quadratic voting on land.
Yeah. So basically, the experiment we are doing now is not really for general governance, but is because we have a competition to actually incentivize creators. So every month we have 10,000 OVR tokens that are distributed to the best creators. So we have this running every month. But to decide who is the winner, you know, when there is money in the game, that is always difficult to distribute. So it's like distributing a public good. So how you do that? So the way we are doing that is with this kind of voting system. So if you don't have tokens, you have 10 voting power. If you have tokens, you have 10 plus your tokens with quadratic funding. So we've been experimenting this for 2 months, and it's working quite good. And so this is just for this kind of distributing on this competition. But it's good that we are testing that, because we can understand what are the mechanics over there. So coming back to your question about the more general governance of the platform. So if you buy a land, you basically are a longer term investor, let's say, in the platform, because of course the token is very liquid. The land, there is a secondary market, but of course it's not as liquid as the token. So it makes a lot of sense to us to actually give more voting power to the actual landowners, because they are the longer term investors. But at the same time, we will like also to include the token holders, because anyway, the token has always been a way to vote. And I mean, this is also the vision that we projected from the beginning. So now we are thinking about what is the best way to combine these two voting weights. But of course, the fact that the landowners will vote, with the fact the more lands you have, the more you vote, will be for sure be there. And probably we will also not use the quadratic voting for that, while applying probably the quadratic voting for the token holders, because also from the statistic, I mean, for what we see, there is not such a skewed distribution for lands, while for the tokens, of course, things are very different.
Oh, interesting. So the landholdership is a lot more concentrated with like more limited people. I guess that makes sense because they bought early, right? So
no. Sorry, maybe I didn't explain myself correctly. No, so in the land side is more evenly spread than in the token side. So it looks like.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, of course, because, you know.
Well, I guess, if you did a bonding curve, that's always the problem, right? The first people get into the bonding curve are going to get like a pretty ridiculous price, at least right in the beginning.
Yeah.
So that makes sense that you would take more time to buy the land and you have less of the bonding issue on that. That's super cool. Yeah, you know, I've been kind of hoping somebody like starts introducing like bicameral like voting systems, right? Where it's like House and Senate type situation where tokens are House and whatever land is Senate, right? Where you kind of end up to being able to balance those a little more. Like I'm not a huge fan of just the like wild like YOLO token voting. So I'm kind of excited to see, especially somebody like with your political background of like, I'm super excited to see like the governance you come up with, especially too in this space, right? Because you have like a way more practical, politically impacted use case to some extent. And especially with like worldwide governance. So that'd be super
and
cool.
Absolutely. Also, there is different decisions to make here because, like, just to give you an example, that decision that probably we don't want to make. So no, we want to let the community decide. For example, censorship. So the system. I mean, what we are going towards is an unstoppable system. So right now, the assets, the 3D assets, are hosted in our database. But basically, in the next 3 months, we're going to deploy IPFS. So the assets will be out there and will be basically unstoppable. They are just published. So now, what if somebody publish some, content that is offensive? So we can draw a very strict line on some things like, pedophile or stuff like that. Of course, that is forbidden. But what if there is some political thing or something that is not so clear if it's something that is need to be forbidden or not? Who can make this decision? So we want the community to make these decisions for understanding what is some content that should be hosted and what is some content that should not be hosted. So it's very important to create a way to distribute this decision making.
So real quick
on
that.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead,
yeah.
Jay.
No. So real quick on that, because it brings up a good point as you're moving on there. You have you're also doing some you have your own nodes, correct?
Yeah. So not yet, but the idea is basically is that we will have the nodes to actually host the content. So the point is that we want to build this as an unstoppable platform, and we will like that even if we disappear in 5 years, because before we need to develop a lot. But let's say we disappear, we would like to the system to survive us. So in order to do that, we need to create a hosting of the contents that doesn't depend totally on us. And of course, the ownership is already out there and so on. So in order to achieve that, the only way that we see right now is IPFS. But IPFS, of course, is very cool, but also you need to answer to another question. So IPFS is good, but you need to serve content with fast speed. And because you're having the experience, you are the final user, you need to download very fast the content. So basically what we are doing, we're forking IPFS and creating a system where nodes are rewarded if they serve the content fast enough. So it's a complex task. It's not easy because to decentralize this is difficult. It's very easy to make it centralized. But this is probably a 1 year, one more year development to achieve that. So in 3 months, we will come out with 10 nodes that actually can be owned by anybody that stake enough tokens. And later on, we will try to make this even more decentralized. So because the difficult thing here is the meritocracy about this hosting. So who needs to get the rewards for the fact that gets fast hosting of the content? So, yeah.
A question for you on that. Like, this is going to be like heresy, right? But like, why focus on distributing that right off the bat? Why decentralize now? Because it's going to be a nearly unsolvable task anyways. Like, why not just say, okay, yeah, we'll centralize the image hosting. We'll actually make it fast and way more usable. Like, why go there right off the bat? Because I don't know. I feel like decentralization is great, but I feel like the ownership's the key part here way more than the serving of it, right?
Well, I mean, we can discuss about that. So yes and no, because of course the ownership, and then the point is the ownership of what, because maybe you have the ownership to a pointer to a file that doesn't exist anymore, So so basically, actually, it's nice what you say, but because in our vision we are late in this, because we were telling about this IPFS from the beginning, and then of course. The first thing for us, the most priority was to give a good experience. So we say, okay, let's first build it centralized and then try to decentralize. So as I mentioned again, for the next year, our priority is to build a system that performs so that the user experience is perfect. And then, we will try to decentralize that. Maybe we fail, maybe we will stay with a semi-centralized system, but at least until we govern this protocol, we will prioritize actually the user experience.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, I want to move back to the censorship issue. I mean, you have a really interesting problem there because, like, you have to have censorship. Otherwise, you'll just end up with, like, whatever, like Nazi areas of Berlin, right? I mean, like, you're going to have, like, a huge problem with this.
Yeah.
So how do you think about that? Like, how do you control that? Like, even with community voting, it feels like that's going to inevitably be, like, a huge challenge. So how do you address that?
Yeah, so basically, there is various levels where you can control that. So right now, what we're working on is a censorship. So right now, everything is in our service, so it's not a big deal. We control that. So once it's going to be more and more decentralized, and also, I mean, once you publish something on IPFS, it's not that you can really take it away. The censorship part will be in the client side. So you use our app to visualize the content, and there will be a blacklist of content that we don't want to be visualized. And of course, it will be a community effort and also our effort to try to check and find when the content is not appropriate. So this is really
interesting.
Yeah, and of course we need to see how it will go, because it's a very difficult problem. But again, the point probably is not really to censor the content, but to where to draw the line. So while for some things it's very easy to draw a line, for other things is not so easy. So on our side, I mean, we don't have a specific preference. So as you was mentioning, Nazi things. So for us, Nazi things are bad, but maybe the community has a more nuanced position on that. So we need to really allow to the landowners, the platform owners, the people that are the stakeholders of this platform to decide what they want to have on this platform.
Yeah, and so wait, so is your strategy just not display it? So basically, if I have a client that says I don't want him to see Nazi stuff, then it just doesn't display it. It's just an empty square, basically.
Correct.
Or like, and so it still exists still.
Yeah. So yes.
So you're not worried about interesting. Huh?
No, because as long as we are hosting the content, I mean, we can just erase it. But if it's not us hosting the content, I mean, you can upload anything on IPFS. So the only way to stop it is in the client side.
But you're saying the landowner, the governance cannot say, well, that square, those people suck, let's ban them, right? Can the group at large like actually get rid of shitty content, or not really?
No, I mean, you have a reference on what is the file and what is the length where this file is displayed. So, I mean, basically you can, signal that, and that can be banned.
It's
okay, yeah, but it'll be banned, huh?
Yeah, it's really a and listen, this is not a OVR problem. This is an overall, Web 3 problem that I think is you're really doing a good job of addressing in a very diplomatic way. Because censorship of any site, it's if somebody wants to be a horrible person, they can go be a horrible person. I just don't want to see it.
Yeah, of course, but this is right now is a theoretical problem. But we believe that it's nice to start thinking about that. So right now it's not a problem, but it could be that. So I think it's important to have at least a plan. So then let's see how we'll play it. Right now we have 8,500 experiences that have been uploaded by 2,000 creators, and for the moment nothing bad happened. So we didn't have to censor anything, but who knows?
It's coming. Don't worry.
I'm about to say, I'm sure you will be disappointed imminently.
So Diego, you also in your white paper, like there's a lot of AI going on.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about, again, a representation of myself in the metaverse or openverse or whatever we're going to go with here in the future, how are you going to handle essentially not having that just dead character look where they're just moving around and it's just a bunch of essentially 2D characters that are turned 3D but have no emotion or anything to them?
Yeah, so basically in our company we have a lot of knowledge also on NLP side, so this branch of AI that works on language. So, and I don't know if you're aware of that, but basically in the last 3 years, there was some very important turning points on that technology. Specifically in 2018, this new architecture called Transformers was created, was launched with a paper called Attention is All You Need from Google that open source this technology. And so basically, since then, there has been huge improvements on what these algorithms can do. Specifically, there are some algorithms of the family that are called GPT. Maybe you heard the GPT-3 by OpenAI. And basically, these algorithms are massive, and they have a massive knowledge and are capable of creating language, creating text that is astonishing. For example, GPT-3 can create small articles that pass the Turing test. So not for conversations, but for writing some text. People cannot recognize that those was written by a machine. So what we are doing, basically, we are taking the open source side of this technology. Specifically, we are working with GPT-J, and we are allowing to combine this with our avatars. So what we're going to be releasing is these avatars that can actually be actually configured. So you can actually create your own intelligence. So the way it works is that these algorithms retain a huge amount of knowledge by themselves because they were trained on the last 10 years of internet, all books that have been digitalized and the whole Wikipedia. So they have a lot of inner knowledge. So you can actually train those with small lines of code or prompt. So in this way, we are going to create an interface so that is very easy to create your own artificial agent that you can interact with voice. So this is a project we've been working since the beginning. That was already in the white paper, actually, but then we realized that it was more difficult than we expected. So, but we are at a very good level right now. So we believe in the next 2 to 3 months, we will come out with the first versions. And probably you saw already something like that in a blockchain. For example, Aletheia is doing something similar, or altered state machines is talking about that. So just to give you a reference, the difference between our project, for example, and Aletheia's is that Aletheia uses GPT-3, while in our case, we use totally open source software, so GPT-J. And in their case, they have their 2D characters. In our case, we have the full 3D avatars that live in our metaverse that use this technology. And also it's interesting because as I was mentioning you, these algorithms retain a lot of knowledge. So for example, you can also use those to extract contextualized knowledge about the location. So let's say that, again, I always talk about the Colosseum, but I'm from Italy. So you have an avatar in the Colosseum, you ask the avatar questions about the Colosseum. This avatar has been trained on Wikipedia and can answer you about the Colosseum because it has an inner knowledge. So you don't need even to train about that. So if it's something that is out there, that is very common, known in the internet space, the algorithm actually will know about that.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. So much technology, and again, there's so much foresight that you're putting into the long-term viability of this project versus just a very quick, how can we create something cool now? You're really putting a lot into this. Stefan, did you have any other last questions on OVR before we move on to the last section?
I'm excited for the alpha, so let's go to that.
What's cool? You're in the space. You clearly interact with a lot of amazing protocols. What are you seeing, outside of your own project that you just think is really amazing, or stuff that you're looking at how to tie into OVR?
Well, so I cannot point you to a specific project, but because also this space is moving so fast. But I always been fascinated. Also not only about this metaverse side, but also about the DeFi side of blockchain, and also the way that if we need to see something big that is going to happen in the future and will keep developing, I see that on one side is DeFi, and on the other side I also see all the progress that is going to be made in DAOs. So in the fact of using DAOs to actually organize communities and societies. Now, so I've been very fascinating about the combination of DAOs with NFTs and with DeFi. Lately, I spent like probably 10 days of understanding how Olympus DAO was working, and it didn't,
or not working, one of the two.
Yeah, or not working. But anyway, either it will recover or not. I mean, it's still such a fascinating mechanic that was created and controlled by a DAO. So maybe, of course.
So on that note, real quick, while we're talking about Olympus, and again, the code that they wrote and what they did is revolutionary, and it's amazing. You know, the rise and fall of it have you know, there's a lot of disagreement on what the cause of it is, and without you know, there's no financial advice here, but just opinions. What do you think was kind of the missing point that would have allowed them to hold their liquidity a little bit better?
Well, no, I wish I had that answer. I mean, in my view, I mean the incentive mechanics was that genius, but of course probably not genius enough. But still it's incredible, because if you look at that, for example, it's still accumulating liquidity, even if basically went down to the base price. So maybe it's not really ended. But I was also very fascinated about the way this protocol has been formed. Also, I was very, very fascinated about what was done with carbon credits, with KlimaDAO. Also, that didn't work that much, but also that idea was amazing. I mean, you know, I love dreamers. I love these people that actually have big ideas, and like them, for example, their idea was amazing. I mean, the fact of making the cost of carbon credits higher thanks to DeFi. It's just you know, mind-blowing, amazing. So when I see these examples, I really keep dreaming about what's the potential over there. The fact that actually we can have a real impact on society, moving from DAOs, DeFi, and basically all these incentive models. And so, yeah, I mean, my alpha is in the fact that probably we will see more and more things happening around DAOs. And this new way to actually organize, at the end of the day, is a tool to actually organize society in a different way. And so the exciting thing is that the experimentation field is borderless. And since basically, at least for now, we don't have regulators stopping us in experimenting over there. I mean,
maybe in your side of the world, but not where I'm sitting.
Yeah, of course. Okay, but still, I mean, people do things. So this thing, I mean, allows for a huge amount of creativity. And so we are moving so fast that you know, sometimes I smile. I mean, I was joking with some of my friends, and they tell me that I'm a DeFi boomer because I was really into DeFi back in you know, from the DeFi summer from 2 summers ago. But now, I mean, that is just boring stuff for them. So it's amazing that in 1 year you become a boomer in DeFi. So yeah, I mean, it's I think yeah.
Yeah, no, that has to do with you know, blockchain and Web3 moves at 4x the normal speed of any other asset class out there, because there's no chance to sleep, there's no weekends, there's no holidays.
Oh yeah.
It never shuts down. So you know, it is easily the fastest asset class I've ever touched.
Yeah, and also another thing that I think we need to realize that is that these new primitives that are thrown here in the crypto space takes time to be understood. Like let's take the NFT standard. So NFT went out in 2017 and basically became a meme of the failure of Ethereum when basically the CryptoKitties clogged the Ethereum network. I remember about that meme, and then it kind of was forgotten for like 2 to 3 years. And then somebody understood that this was very good for works of art, and the world wake up about that. So I mean, and of course, NFTs are here to stay, because basically they are the building blocks of this Web3 ownership of things that are not tokens. So I mean, I'm very, very bullish on, I mean, all the things that will be done with the primitives that are being that are created here. So DAOs, again, NFTs, DeFi primitives. I mean, the things that we're going to see coming out for that, we cannot really imagine right now. And so, yeah, that's why I'm really excited about this space.
I love it. I love it. Where would you like people to reach you? How do you want people to reach out? Obviously, you have your protocol up and running and apps up and running, but in the same sense, where's the best place to find you guys?
Yeah, but so on Telegram, of course, and on Discord. I would say that right now we are more active on Telegram, but I mean both are fine. And please go to the links through the website because they try to scam everybody every day. So let's use the official links. And yes, I mean we are happy to. I mean you to try the platform, download the app, test it out, tell us what you think about that, how we can make it better, and I mean let's do that together.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for swinging by. We absolutely appreciate it. yWhales, again, this is OVR, and welcome to the new version of the Augmented Reality Metaverse. So we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank
you,
guys.
Have a great day.